All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started here today. First off, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day. I think we got a nice little webinar. It should go fairly quick. I also have Lynn Voss on the call today, and Lynn will be on to help with some of the technical questions with the app fill and the health screens and the quote percent. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like we got a few people signed on now, and they seem to have stopped. So hopefully we get some good information out to you today. So basically what we're going to do is go through the product and software today. I'm Jon Randall, Regional Director at Golden Care. I've been in long-term care for over 20 years now. If you're not familiar with us, or even if you are, good refresher for you. Between Golden Care and American Independent Marketing, who goes by AIM, we cover all 50 states. You can see Golden Care is mostly the eastern part. We do have Michigan, New York, and a few of those that go with the AIM side. But we can help you, either us or AIM can help you with any of the questions you have. The nice part is AIM is a couple hours earlier than us, so it gives you, and they'll be there later. So we have somebody that can answer the phone for quite a long time during the day. You know, one of the biggest reasons long-term care is really gaining its popularity back is people are really afraid of the nursing homes. If you look at those stats, 61% of seniors said they would rather die than go to a nursing home. In poor Canada, if you look at that, 73% of their deaths were in long-term care and retirement homes. They're really afraid right now. We're seeing that on different parts of our business too, but for the first time in a long time, we're having clients call in, and it's not because their houses are on fire and they're already sick. They're actually saying, hey, we really need to take a look at this long-term care. And now we have Transamerica that exited the market or will be exiting soon. So now a great time to start offering Mutual of Omaha's mutual care solutions. And I'll go through that software today. Mutual's really tied to the long-term care. You know, they've been through 2 world wars, Great Depression, and a lot of other economic challenges. And you know what? They're still around. They've still kept their promise to help pay their customers' claims. So we really like being a partner of the Mutual of Omaha. They have great ratings. Their AM Best is superior. You know, and again, most people are familiar with Mutual of Omaha. They said they were going to change their logo last year, and if you've never noticed, they actually did replace the logo with the lion's head, and I thought they did a very professional job. Most people don't even notice it's a different logo, which is good. I think they did a really wonderful job of getting it out there and making it look where they didn't really lose a beat, so we like that. You can access all your forms in one place. We're going to be sending this we'll send this information out to you so you don't have to write it down. But you can get a lot of the forms and stuff off of yaim.com/first command. If you need the software, you can either call us, have us send you a link, or it's even easier, just go to www.mutualltcquote.com. Let me go ahead and pull up these forms. Here's the quick quote form that you can get from that site. It just has some of the real basic, what kind of policy you would like, you know, the client's name, and we can do a quote for you really good. It's really a short form, but it is a quick fill. We also use the same form for the app fill, and I'm just showing them to you for you real quick. We do have a little more in-depth health pre-screen that goes over a few more of the things that you can have. Also gives you more room for the drugs and doctors in their history. So, and the last form here. If you're going to do the app fill, we do have a sheet that says it's really easy. It gives you a step-by-step. Basically, We want you to make the sale. You send that completed form along with the copy of the quote, and then we go ahead and complete the application and the processing and fill it all in for you. So it's a really nice, really seamless way to have us help you out. So this is our mutual software. We sell mostly the custom solution, but you can see there is a secure solution too, and when I tap into it, you'll see there's just a lot less options on the secure. So we almost always go with the custom. You can type in the agent's name or the client's name. And I'm gonna go through this fairly fast because a lot of you advisors are already seasoned professionals at this. I just kind of want to give you a good look at what each different thing is, and I think I can do that quickly enough. So let me just kind of go through it. We'll do a married couple, both age 60. Here's your state drop down. So also always make sure you go to a state that you want. They're a little bit different pricing in each of the states. So I'm just going to use Iowa today. Partner both insured. You can have a partner just one insured, and that dropped down to a 10% discount now. And if you're single, there's no discount. So partner insured, they both get 10. Partner one insured, 5%. Make sure you have the male and female the right order. You can see down here the price changes automatically whenever you make a change, but you can see females are quite a bit higher nowadays. It's probably always been priced wrong. It should have been gender rating. And this is the opposite of life insurance. Here, the females are more expensive, the males are cheaper. Life insurance, the males are more expensive. And they both make sense because if you see who's using the nursing homes, it's a lot more females than male. We usually say to put people in at select unless you know they're preferred. And there is guidebooks up here. You can get the product guide or the underwriting guide. And the underwriting guide has right in it what you need to be preferred. But remember, the guides are always right at your fingertips. So no matter where you're at, if you have your software, you can go get the height and weight or what to do with diabetes or certain types of cancer. Then we go down here to the monthly benefit. I'm just going to start out at $4,500. Basically, $4,500, depending on where you live and what state, is a very good home coverage. In the Iowa, it's probably going to pay for your assisted living or the lion's share of it. And if you have to go to the nursing home, you know what? That's when your other money's going to come in and help. Now, this is completely up to you as an advisor and what your recommendation is, depending on who you're selling it to. But to keep the price in range, we want to take care of, the big part, their home health and assisted living. But if they have to go to the nursing home, a lot of times our advisors are saying, you know what, that's when they can start putting in their Social Security and part of their pension towards it. But again, every client's different. I'm just going to use a 3-year plan. If you can see with the custom plan, it comes in numbers like this. So you hit 165 and you're like, I really want to show exactly 3 years. Now, it doesn't matter, but the quick way to do that is to go to secure. $4,500 for 3 years, you can see is $162,000. I jump back to the custom, and then I just type $162,000. Now, we do sell it as a pool of money, but you can make it an exact year, as in a 3-year, 4-year. But most people are comfortable also saying, hey, I have $170,000 worth of coverage. It'll last somewhere a little over 3 years. Here's where we pick out the elimination days: 0, 30, 60, 90, 180, and 360. 90s being the most common. And then a lot of people like to add the home health care waiver. The home health care waiver just says day one, right away, you can receive your care at home. You stop paying your premium, and because you have that waiver, and you get first day coverage. With Mutual Omaha, it's a calendar day elimination. And if you can stay home for 90 days under the home health care while you're receiving the reimbursement, that'll wipe out your assisted living and your nursing home elimination times. So it does add about 9% depending on age and everything. Excuse me. But the nice part is getting rid of that elimination down the road when it can be a lot higher is something you want to think about. So most commonly, people are using 3% lifetime inflation. And I always tell people, make sure you look at different inflation options because of the price of this. In some states, you can go down to 1% and it'll still be partnership. And I'll explain partnership when I get there. But to some people, that's not as important. They would rather raise up their front end, get more coverage up front, and still have some type of growth down the line. And you can see, you know what? You can save a lot of money doing that, and you gave them upfront growth. Meaning, if anything happened in the first few years, you're going to have a lot more coverage with this one. What you really want to do is get a calculator and calculate out, at least to about age 85, and make sure the 7,000 at 1% is still outperforming the 3,500 at 3%. Then you want to make sure the family doesn't have a longevity where, my mom and dad both lived to 95, and my mom had Alzheimer's for, 12 years. You want to find that stuff out. But the average age right now is actually dropped to about 78 where they're using it. We still like to price it out to 84, 85. Make sure you're not shortchanging them. But it's really nice when you outperform the other one, but you're getting away for way cheaper dollars. So here we have 448. If we go back to that 4,500, 162, and then the 3% compound, you can see that was 557. So we saved them over $100 a month and probably gave them a lot better policy. Oops, it's even more than that because I didn't go quite as high. 593, so about $150 a month, 145. You saved them by going to 7,000 at 1%. And again, we'd want to check a calculator. And if you don't have one, I can send you one. We have a calculator that compares inflations. Very easy to use. And I can definitely send that out to everybody on the list if you guys would like that. So we're just going to go with this standard quote, even though it's more expensive because I'm just showing you how to go cut through the software and what the different benefits are. Then there's the assisted living and the home health care. They're built in at 100%, but you can move them down to 75 or 50. Maybe if you have a single person that says, no matter what, if something happens to me, I'm going to have to at least go to assisted living. I don't have any family around. I'm too old to do anything on my own here. I would need so much care. And I couldn't take care of my house. I couldn't get the shoveling done. I couldn't get the grass mowed. I'd have to hire everything out. So when something happens, I have to move on. Well, you could move that home care down. You're not saving a ton of money, so it doesn't happen very often, but it is a way to knock off some of the pricing, especially in a single person. with the COVID times where nobody wants to be in a nursing home, and since it's a married couple, I would probably always keep it at 100%. And again, that's always um, depending on who you're working with and who you're advising. Right now, the cash benefit is at 25%. The maximum you can start out at is $2,000. It's not the maximum you can get. And the cash benefit comes in lieu of the reimbursement benefits. But you know what? I'm going to just jump back up to that 7,000 just to show. And switch this. Oh, I kept 3% on. So in this case, the higher you have your monthly benefit, that's where your 25% is based on. That's the cash you can get. And you know what? If you have that cash coming in, and say dad gets Alzheimer's and mom's taking care of him, and they do have, a daughter and son that live close by, mom would rather take care of dad herself as long as she's able. Why? She doesn't want a stranger coming into her house all the time, because then they feel like they have to have the house all clean just to have the other people come in. But also, mom can take care of dad. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, Alzheimer's, you know what? He can take his medicine if you put it out. He can take a shower if you tell him he has to take a shower. He can put his clothes on if you lay it out for him. You need to make sure he doesn't walk out the front door and go missing, or put a hot pad in the toaster and burn your house down. So it's more of a lot of supervising at first. It does get to a point where she's going to need more help, then she can switch over to the reimbursement. But that cash is really nice. It gives them the ability to pay a son or a daughter, to pay a neighbor to come and watch while they go get groceries, or to pay the grocery store to deliver groceries, to pay for that nurse who maybe has to come in and check once a week. So a lot of times they stay at the cash, and we know from experience that about 50% of people who start their benefit with cash never switched over. And that was back in the 40% cash days. And if you notice, there's still some states that haven't switched to the new price refresh, but you can see like Florida still has 40% cash. But I'm showing the new rates with the new dollar amounts. And it eventually will go to all states that it'll be at 25% max for the cash. So they started this last September. They put a rate refresh for new customers only, which is good, and which we respect the mutual companies for not having rate increases. And if you look at their history, Mutual Omaha was lucky they weren't a big player years ago when all the companies were priced wrong. They're not like the Genworth or the Hancocks, who were the big guys at the time, who are taking major rate increases now. And even though they're still a good deal, even with their rate increases, we all know that's very hard to explain to clients when their policies keep going up every year. So we hope Mutual is going to stay on this path of having very minor rate increases, and they're all on the old blocks of business. So we're hoping that stays that way. Now we're going to go into the partner benefits. Shared care, and again, I still have this all whipped up at the high amounts. I can bring that back down to make it a little more readable for everybody. Shared care just says mom and dad both have this policy. It's a $4,500 for 3-year benefit, increasing by 3%. Your monthly benefit and your policy benefit and your cash all are going to increase by 3% compound annually. But let's say they have this policy, now it's 5,000 and 200,000 it's built to, still for 3 years, and dad passes away. Well, now mom has a $5,000 policy for 6 years. She inherits all of the benefit. And that's a very good selling point, especially when you're in the house and you explain long-term care and the need for it. And the mom is saying yes and dad's saying no because he doesn't believe he's ever going to need it. You add that in there, and a lot of times dad just feels better and says, you know what, that's really nice. I feel better knowing that if I pass away, she's even going to have more coverage. So it's a great selling point that way. And the real use for the shared care is, let's say dad does get Alzheimer's. He goes through his whole pool of money. He can borrow up to 2 years. You have to leave 1 year for the insured, but basically giving him a 5-year policy in case he needs it, or vice versa. The wife could have a 5-year policy. And then if down the line the spouse passed away, they could use that other year that was unused also. So shared care is just a way to sell a smaller policy, but give them more benefits. And a lot of married couples, we know that about 90% chance one of the two is going to use it. And a lot of times, maybe it will be the wife. So it's a good benefit, but you can see it does cost some money to add it on. So I'm going to click back and forth there. Another great thing about our software is you can see right off the bat the difference in the cost. Survivorship just says, hey, we're going to put survivorship on there. If you have this policy for 10 years and one of you passes away, the other one has a lifetime waiver of premium. It's not quite as expensive as shared care. It's right up there. But it's a very good deal, especially if there's one of the spouses making the majority of the money. It makes sure that maybe, later on in life, one of them passes away, the other one isn't getting stuck or short of cash, or whatever. Gives them a better chance of holding on to that policy when there's no premium. The joint waiver of premium I like because it doesn't add much money. And we already know if you go on claim, you have waiver of premium once your elimination is up. So with that 0 day right there, when you go on claim, if you're at home, you have waiver of premium. With joint waiver of premium, it just says when one person goes on claim, both of the premiums are waived, which is kind of nice for the client. Again, totally up to you as the agent. If that's something you want to sell. It's a moot point to most people, but obviously, if they're not paying your premium, you're not getting your commissions either. So to some people, they look at that and say, yeah, we don't want to do the joint because of that. And to others, it's not a big deal. So the security benefit, and if you've noticed, every time I click something, and I did something wrong, the software never lets you make a mistake. So the security benefit is only when there's a partner, one insured. Because what the security says is, well, it looks like in this case, Dad, you get this policy. You have $4,500 a month for 3 years, but Mom is uninsurable, so she can't get it. So what the security benefit says is, Dad, you're already taking care of Mom or getting some help, but it's wearing down on you, especially if it's the other way around, if it's the female taking care of the male. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. It makes the chance of her needing care go way up. And that was back in 2008. I read an article, and I can't find it, but it says it was 75% more chance of needing care if you were a caregiver. And we already know there's about a 70% chance if you reach age 65, you're going to need care. You put another 75 on there because you're a caregiver. I mean, it's almost inevitable that you'll be needing care. But When you go on claim, Mutual Omaha, out of a separate pool of money, would send you a check for 60% of your benefit. So if they were still at the 4,500, it's her money or his money because he's on claim. He'd get an extra check mailed to him for 2,700 to go towards the wife's care at home, assisted living, nursing home, go more towards his care. It's cash money. He can do whatever he wants with it, just like he can with the cash benefit. He can use it however he wants. So this goes out the reimbursement. If it's still at 4,500, they get a check for 2,700. If it had grown to 6,000, that check would be 3,600. And it does not eat away at this policy limit. It's a separate pool of money. It does go towards the partnership benefit that I'll tell you about here in just a couple seconds or a couple minutes. But now instead of 4,500 going towards your partnership protection, you're going to have the 4,500 plus the 2,700. So that would be 7,200 of partnership protection. So that security benefit's nice when it's an uninsurable spouse and you're pretty sure that they're going to end up needing, that extra help. But it's not just uninsurable spouse. It can also be an uninsured spouse. So as I said earlier, you're talking to mom and dad, and mom's saying yes, and dad says no, and at the end, dad says, absolutely, I'm not getting it, I'm never going to need it, I'm not paying for it. Mom can still get that benefit, that security benefit, and then if she goes on claim, they'd get that extra dollars. Now, I will tell you, it adds about 60% to your premium. But you remember, your payout is a lot higher than your premium dollar. So it's just one more, basically, arrow in your quiver of ways to get around people who are uninsurable. Or a lot of them will say, well, if we both can't get it, we don't want it. Well, we know that's not the answer. The benefit right here, called the non-forfeiture, which is shortened benefit period, we don't sell it hardly at all. What it basically is saying, that sometime down the line, if you can't afford it, you can drop your policy and get exactly the amount you paid in premium back in care. So if you paid in $30,000, you're going to have $30,000 of care you might use someday or you might not. Chances are good you'll use it, but it's only going to last you a few months. So basically what it says right off the bat is you're adding this on there because you might not think you can afford it lately, so you're basically paying for a rate increase in advance. We sell way less than 1% of this policy. The only time I can ever remember even being relative was when a person had a business that was buying the premiums, and they weren't sure their business was booming, but it was techie. They weren't sure if 10 years from now it would even be around, and they wanted at least their employees to be able to walk away with some type of paid-up policy. There is a shortened non-benefit period built right into the policies itself, and I have noticed lately that Transamerica, Genworth, for sure, I'm not positive if Hancock is, I haven't seen it yet, but they're basically, the states are forcing them with the rate increase to just say, or you can opt out and get all your premiums back that you paid in for care going forward. So they're actually forcing a lot of companies that are having big rate increases to put that on already. Otherwise, the shortened non-benefit period that's built in, it's a little graph you'll see somewhere in the policy, sample policy. And it's a little confusing, but it just says if you have this much rate increase, according to how many years you've been paying your premiums, you'll get this much back. And it grades up as you've had the policy longer and longer. So we don't use that. That's built right in. But the non-forfeiture we hardly ever use. The 200% professional care, I really like that. If you see the premium, it's not very expensive at all. Here you have a $4,500 home health care benefit. With the professional home health care, it basically says you could get up to $9,000 a month. Now what that means is every day a professional comes in, basically, and a professional is an LPN, an RN, a chemotherapist, a physical therapist, anybody that your care coordinator, any of those things, your benefit doubles for that day. So in the worst case scenario, if you had to have a professional in every day that month, it would double up to $9,000. But what it really means, along with this home health care waiver and the $9,000 professional, under most circumstances, you're going to be able to keep your client at home at least for that first 90 days. And you know what? That's going to get rid of their assisted living or nursing home elimination period. And down the road, 20, 30 years, depending on when they use the policy, that's a big chunk of money. If they had something bad enough right away where they almost would have to go to the nursing home, especially if they only had $4,500 in home health care and the out-of-pocket expense was too high to keep them there, well, then they have to go to maybe right to a nursing home, which is more expensive already, and you have to pay the first 90 days out of pocket because you didn't get rid of that 90 days at home. So with this and this, we try to keep the clients at home for 90 days. But either way, with that 200% home care, it could cause a lot less out of pocket anytime, all year or 2 years long. And I know in Minnesota, a nurse has to come and check on you once a month. And that nurse, in the cities here, is $300 just to knock on your door. So you're automatically with a $300 benefit. So it'd be nice with those days that the nurse had to come in to have that little bit of extra to make sure you can keep your out-of-pocket expenses down. So I like the professional home care. The return of premiums, there's none. There's before age 65. So if you passed away before age 65, you could get all your premium dollars back. This is a pretty good deal, especially if you're selling to younger clients, depending on their profession also. It's not super expensive. You can see before age 65, especially because they're already 60, it's only adding $4 a month. The 3 times monthly maximum is kind of a neat concept. It just says whatever your starting monthly maximum benefit is, in this case $4,500, we're going to give you 3 times that back when you pass away. It's like adding a little final expense in there to take care of some of the burial costs. Some agents really like it. I can't say we sell a ton of it, but it's actually catching popularity right now, and we're not sure why, if it's because of COVID or because somebody's seen a little angle of, hey, you know what, that makes your policy this much cheaper after that many years. So 3 times age 65, it doesn't add a ton, but there is some. Less claims paid, you can see it adds a whole bunch. We don't sell much of that at all, and we actually encourage agents, if you're going to do a return of premium, at least take a look at a second to die life policy, because you'll save your clients, $100 and some dollars a month, because that's very expensive to put that one on there. And it's cheaper to buy a life insurance policy. The nice part about this software also, here's the quote we originally started with. You can come over here and copy the quote. It'll put it in there. Then we went to that 7,000, 1% for 175. Not partnership qualified anymore. And you could put that in there. You can save this quote. And it's going to say, do you want to save, John, when you close the software, it'll be yes. If I ever wanted to go open it back up, the quotes that I ran would be saved in there. Now, partnership, I'm going to go over again because I skipped it here. Partnership just says dollar for dollar asset protection. So with this partnership plan I had here, and then to go back and forth between your quotes, you just click on them over here and you can compare them again if you wanted to see that price. 2,600 or 611 to 462. This looks like a better deal depending on if partnership's important to them. Partnership is dollar for dollar asset protection, and it's all based on the percentage of inflation. In Iowa, if you go before lower than 3% lifetime for 6-year-olds, it's not partnership protected. There is quite a few states now that allow you to go down to 1% with life. And with Mutual of Omaha, the best thing is you have the protection buy-up with the custom plan. What is inflation protection buy-up? Anytime in the first 20 years or to the age of 75, you can increase your inflation without showing insurability. You just can't be on claim yet. If you were in a 1% state and you sold a 1% because they had kids in college or they're still paying mortgage or for whatever reason, that's what they could afford. But a few years later, they were doing much better financially and they're starting to feel older, maybe starting to feel some memory issues coming. They can say, let's raise that inflation up. Let's get it up there so that when something does happen, we're growing at a higher percent. And again, as long as you're not on claim, you can raise it without showing any proof of insurability. So that's a really nice thing. We love the inflation buy-up, especially for states where you can go all the way down to 1%. But we also have agents that are like, well, hey, if they start feeling the memory going or one of the spouses, hey, why not raise that inflation? If they go on claim a year later, they have waiver premium, but now they're getting that extra 2% inflation each year that they have the policy. If you have an association, which if you land an association is probably the easiest, best way to get leads, because they can get a letter right from the association telling them that, we offer long-term care. You get to give them a 5% discount. The leads come in. As a producer, if you buy on yourself, you and your spouse also get a 5% discount. The employer group that Mutual Omaha offers is called the Common Employer. If you go into a place and get 5 employees to sign apps all together, there's a form that we have called the Common Employer form. You send in the paperwork with the 5 apps, and then after that, it's set up as an employer group, and all their spouses get the 5% discount if they have them or if they're applying. And then any future employee, even if they're people that were already working there, they just decided not to do it for a month or 6 months or whatever the case, or they get a new hire, they're eligible with their spouse. So it's a really nice way to pick up pick up, multiple apps at one time. So I know I went through that quick, but again, I know I'm also preaching to the choir with a lot of you people. So I hope you did get something out of that. I'm also going to turn it over to Lynn to see if she has anything to add on the app fill, or if anybody has any questions, they can type it in. Lynn, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Oh, good deal, good deal. The app fill, the form that Jon Randall brought up on his screen earlier in the presentation, we really, when working with the First Command Home Office, we really did a good job trying to set it up to appear similar to the LTCI Partners form. So you may have thought it was at least somewhat familiar. And of course, regardless of which office you send this through, either AIM or Golden Care, we make sure to handle it pretty quickly, and it is the same form. You can complete that and save it with your client's information in. You can save it under a different name to get the illustration, and then make whatever changes are necessary and turn around and send it for the app fill with the matching illustration. So we tried to make it as easy as possible. And now we've also got that fillable health pre-screen form. I know there had been an option for some online pre-screen options, and we're trying to fill that need as well. And we've got a direct line of communication with the Mutual of Omaha underwriting team. We can certainly help pre-screen your clients, recommend whether there should be any waiting period, or give you a best estimate as to what health rating might be appropriate for the quotes. Definitely, like I said, we try to get things turned around as quickly as possible when we get the quick quotes. Of course, we try to get those back within 24 hours. Often it can be within an hour or two. I believe I've emailed several of these pieces to Jim Leach, but like Jon said, I can certainly send it to, if there is just that one key person in your office, I can certainly send all of the forms to that person. Otherwise, I can take the email addresses that you used in our WebEx system for registration. I can just send those pieces directly to each of you as well. I hope I covered most everything. And Jon, I thought you did a fabulous job with the software. The one thing I wanted to correct actually was the marital discounts. With the Mutual of Omaha pricing and benefit changes, like Jon said, it's taken effect in several states. There's only a handful of states left that are still on the older pricing model. But the marital discounts were one of those things that had changed. The partners, both insured, it's not 10%, it's actually 15%.
Oh, you're right. I remember that. Oh, yeah.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that. I noticed that.
No.
I wanted to make sure there was, that the accurate discounts. That I could see one thing being something that's written down, or scribbled down somewhere in the margin, or, meeting notes, and just wanted to make sure that was correct.
No, I'm glad you corrected that. I want to thank everybody else for coming on. I went a few minutes over time. My email address is JONR, John R, without the H, at goldencareusa.com. Lynn is Lynn V, LYNNV, at goldencareusa.com. We want to help you out as much as you can, answer any questions, do some dirty work on the underwriting or getting an app process through. That's what Golden Care and AIM are here for. And we'd love to help you out. As advisors, the best thing you can be doing is going out and helping new people and not spending your time doing the dirty work. So we'd love to do that for you. So I hope you use us and let us help you out as much as we can. I want to thank everybody. Lynn,
before you get there, Jon, I did actually see a question submitted by Jim Leach. The annual payment savings. There are different modal factors. Annual is just 1.0. So, I mean, there is about 8% if my math is right. There's about an 8% savings as opposed to paying on a monthly basis. If you preview the illustration like Jon is showing, it does actually break down. It provides all of the modal premiums on that illustration on page 2. You can see all of those, regardless of which button you choose in the illustration software. Each printout does actually show all of the options.
And I'll just page through this printout for you quick. It gives you a very nice cover page. It gives you your deck page, a good way to explain it. If you're using the cash benefit of $1,125 a month, there's a 0-day elimination. If you only use the cash, it would last you about 12 years. If you use the reimbursement benefit, it's going to last you 3 years. So basically, you can tell your clients, depending on the circumstances, you have a policy that should last you somewhere between 3 and 12 years. If you have to use the professional benefit, that will eat that down some, depending on how many days you use it. It gives you the inflation, the price, and it's about a 9%, I think, for the monthly. Paying annual, you save about 9%. Then they do really nice custom pages here. They show you a little higher benefit and a little lower benefit. So when you're in the house, you don't have to have 20 quotes with you. If they say, well, $4,500, what if I want $6,000? You just go over there, figure out the inflation. Instead of $2,500, it would be $2,900. So it's just a graph that you cross. They do have.
And remember, if you're quoting a couple, each of these pages are broken out per individual.
Yeah, correct. Then they show you how to get different assisted living and home health cares. But the one I really like is the inflation protection comparison. It just shows you, here's the policy that you have. Here's what the cash, your monthly and your annual or your lifetime maximum are. And for a 60-year-old, they want to know what it's going to look like when they're, 80, 85. So it's going to be, cash is going to be somewhere around $2,300. They're going to have about a little over 9,300-400 in their monthly pool, and their big pool is going to be about 250,000, 240,000. So, or I'm sorry, 340,000. So it's really nice to be able to kind of look out in the future and see what they have. And then I also like the break-even option. They say if you pay this premium for 25 years, because that's when you'll be about 85 years old, or you will be 85, it would take 201 days of care. So can you see yourself maybe needing a little over a half a year of care sometime in your life? And that's how fast you'd get all your money back. My mother's a very good example. She paid premiums and rate increases for 30 years, and she went into the assisted living, so she's not even getting her full benefit because she was at 75% assisted living. And she's coming up on a year now, and she's got all the money she ever paid in, and she didn't think she'd ever have that. And if by chance she keeps going, she's 93 right now, and she's still healthy as ours. She has a lifetime benefit, and she's not paying premium anymore. So she's very, very happy she has it, even though she had to go about 15 years of threatening to drop it every day. But she has 3 sons in long-term care who kept her into it. But now I even kept you longer.
And there's one last question. Jon, you talked about the association. Ray is asking, what is the definition of association to determine a group?
They have to be dues-paying members, not put together just to get discounts on insurance. They have to be able to elect their officers, and dues-paying members, that's the biggest thing. over the years, we've had, probably 20 to 30 nurses associations, the State of Nurse Association, numerous um, school associations, teacher associations, I should say. But basically, anybody that's a dues paying that elects their officials, and then they have to have a certain amount of members depending on the state. But if you ever have
Would
a
an
question,
attorney's office of 8 folks count?
no, because they're employees and they're not dues paying. So the attorneys would probably go under that common employer. Now, we did have some states, like the Indiana State Bar. If you get state bar associations, they definitely, or the medical association, like the Indiana Medical Association. Those are all associations. If they are workers or employees, then it has to go under the employer group, and they both get 5%, and they both have the spouses are eligible for that discount too.
There was a question about homeowners associations. I believe most of those do pay some type of a fee or some type of dues, but I'm not sure if they would elect their.
I don't know if I've had in homeowners, but if they elect their officials and are dues paying, they would more than likely fall into the group. I know the realtor associations those are groups.
Who do I talk to for a follow-up? You most certainly have John or I's email address, and you can call our office and speak to any of the marketing team. The toll-free number to the Golden Care office is 1-800-842-7799.
Yeah, again, that's John R. or Lynn V. at goldencareusa.com. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for getting on, and again, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. You guys have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your week.